Hi, everyone. So, as you can see, I am back in the office, kind of. And what better way to start off, me moving back into the office, than with a new book review. So, today I'm doing Cryptonomicon by Neal Stephenson. As you can see, this is what happens when your kids, your very little kids, get a hold of your book. It was already kind of used anyway. It's an older book, 90s. Anyway, so as you can see, this is over 1,000 pages long, which I've read books about that length before. Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky and Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Anyway, so what's this book about? So it follows two different time periods, World War II and the late 90s, sort of like, I guess, the tech crisis of Southeast Asia at that time. And, of course, with two different time periods, it follows two different groups of people. World War II, you have these code breakers, these like mathematicians that are recruited by the Allies to break the access codes that they use in order to gain advantage during the war. It also follows my favorite character, Bobby Shafto, who is a Marine. He's not a code breaker or anything like that. He is basically the Rambo of the book, probably the coolest character in there. It also follows another character named Goto, who is actually, he's a Japanese soldier, and his character actually makes an appearance in the other arc of the story. So, late 90s, what do we got going on over there? This group of like young tech company guys are actually working on creating a sort of data haven centered in the Philippines. So this book has a little bit of everything in it. It's got treasure hunts, Nazis, hackers, kidnappings, thrillers, murders, war, conspiracies, shadowy groups, cabals, mysterious characters. And it has a little bit of every genre in it, almost every genre in it. It's got some sci-fi, it's got some historical fiction, thriller, action, horror, comedy, romance. And I would say because it includes so much that is really a strong point of the novel. The World War II stuff with Bobby Shafto is great. I mentioned his name predominantly because he was definitely my favorite character in the book. So 1,100 pages long. One of the issues with the book, actually the main issue with the book, is that there is a lot. It's not for the layperson who doesn't understand much cryptography or code breaking, coding, things of that nature. The author is very descriptive of that, which you kind of see also in Ken Follett's Pillar of the Earth, talking about architecture. So maybe I'm not the type of person that's meant to read this book. Maybe it is for quote unquote geeks. That's what it says in the back of the book. No, it doesn't. But it says geeks somewhere in the descriptions. Anyway, what was I saying? So that's kind of the problem with it. A lot of exhibition, and then just some things that just don't make sense to add. Like there's about a 2.5 page description of how one of the characters enjoys Captain Crunch, like how he likes to use 2% milk instead of whole milk because it makes the cereal dissolve slower, something like that. Just a lot of exposition. Just too descriptive in my opinion. Like somebody will let's say somebody will say something that'll shock somebody. That person, instead of saying that person stared wide-eyed with shock, it'll say that person stared at that guy like as if a monkey named Leonard jumped on the top of his head and played the conga drums that he learned from this chief in Australia back in the 70s. Just things like that just kind of really doesn't move the story forward. And that's really the issue is if you're reading this book, you don't understand coding or cryptography, you are really going to be skimming a lot of the pages. But unfortunately, you're also going to be missing some maybe crucial parts. And that's another problem is you really won't know when you're missing crucial parts. One of the other issues is the flashbacks. Just when it'll talk about one character, then it'll talk about his school days. There's no like page break. So all of a sudden you're in a whole different mini time era that you didn't know you were in. And that's what I really want to talk about with exhibition. overall, I give this book about 3 stars out of 5. But what I really want to talk about is exhibition, especially in books. There's a point where there's just too much, and there's a point where there's just too little. And definitely it's up to the reader to make that distinction for themselves. That's a very subjective, too much and too little are very subjective. Anyway, personally, I like when, I like the description of main settings and main characters. I mean, if a guy has 20 goons, they're pretty much just going to be killed off in one scene. I don't need to know what they all look like. I can assume what a goon is going to look like. But lately, in a lot of books nowadays, you see a very little description of the characters. And sometimes it's done well. I notice in like Jonathan Mayberry's Joe Ledger series, everybody that's an important character is described except Joe Ledger. His appearance is left pretty much to the reader's imagination, which is fine, I guess. So in a way, he can look like anybody, to the benefit of the reader. I like that. But a lot of other times it just says, hey, John and Jack, and John is in love with Sarah, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, what does Sarah look like? What does John look like? What does Jack look like? Like, who are these people? What does a John look like? Because he looks like a lot of different people. And then there's just too much exhibition where people just get lost in the details. Like, I don't need to know, like, if there's a bar scene where somebody's talking to a guy, like they're making a deal, or he's just passing them a phone number, call this guy. I don't even know what the whole bar looks like if it's only going to be for like a scene in a movie that'll only be like 15 seconds. I can assume what a bar looks like, or at least one word. Like he was in a bar that was built in the 1800s or something. Okay, I can assume what an 1800s bar would look like. Just, yeah, it's like there's one where, in either way, the reader can get distracted, and it's really my pet peeve is with exhibition. I really try to keep the descriptions to a minimum, and then nowadays, it's not as popular as spend a paragraph describing what a character looks like. A lot of times, the reader wants to keep up with the story, so they don't want that break. So, oh, by the way, here's what this guy looks like. They want to really have it moved in with the story. So instead of saying John's tall with black hair, you can say John, had to duck under the doorway because he's so tall, and then he looked in the mirror and he slicked his black hair back or something like that, which is fine. I like to give, with my writing though, I like to give just a little bit amount of time to describe what my characters look like so the reader can get an accurate depiction. But I don't like to, again, get them lost in details. It's where a lot of authors, I think that's where Neal Stephenson that's where he kind of fell short with this book. Just too much description, too much going on. I know what a jungle looks like. You don't have to describe the type of the tree branch, the bark of the tree that sings a song or something when a woodpecker hits it. No, I don't care. He's looking for gold. He's looking for millions of dollars worth of lost gold that was stolen by the Japanese in World War II. Like, I don't care. I'm sorry, that's a little rant. You just get lost in books like that. And yeah, so this was kind of like a double whammy. I want to talk about exhibition, and I want to talk about this book review. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like the video, and if you enjoy reading yourself, I'm also an author. These are my books in the background. I write crime thrillers, so please check all my books out. Ice Rising, Icebox, Battle of Johnny Carlo, Life's Dark Corners, and my 5th book, Ice Rain, the sequel to Ice Rising, then Icebox, will be publishing October 25th of 2023. That is this year at this date, and I think that's it. So please check my books out, especially if you love crime thriller. If you like the whole kind of rise and fall of gangsters, this is definitely the series to check out. All available on Amazon, on Kindle Unlimited, paper and paperback. So thank you very much, and have a good day.